All right, here we go in part 2 of our oil change demonstration. We're going to be showing you first here, or second here I should say, how to begin the oil change. So the first thing we want to do is take the cap from the oil fill cap off. Some technicians will put it there where the latch is. If they shut the hood, it won't want to latch, so they know where it is. I'm going to put it up on the bench over here out of your sight for just a moment, but it is there. I'm going to go ahead and put my safety glasses on. I'm going to go ahead and take the dipstick out, and with a rag I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like up on the screen. It's hard, you can see the two dots, one there and one there, and you can see the oils about 2/3 of the way up between the two dots, and it's kind of a golden brown color, and after roughly 3,000 miles that's how it'll look. It doesn't look that dirty, does it? But it is time to change it when we go every 3,000 miles or 3 months. Now, I'm going to go ahead and raise the car, and so let me pause the video and do that just one moment right here. So you can see right here is the oil drain plug on the bottom of the oil pan. The oil pan is going to be at the back of the engine. The front of the engine on this car is over here to the passenger side. Please don't confuse this with the automatic transmission pan, which is there. It has its own drain plug right there, but I've seen students drain the automatic transmission fluid when they were really wanting to drain the oil pan for an oil change. So I'm going to reach over here and grab an oil drainer. I'll put the camera down so you can see the drainer just for a moment, and I'm going to go ahead and loosen the knob right here, lift this guy up, and then tighten the knob, and that's going to get us set so that when we drain the oil, it'll come right out and into the drainer right there. Hopefully we don't splash anything onto the screen. So I'm going to come over here and grab a 14mm wrench. Over on this, I've got a panel right here, so I can go ahead and use this in black industrial finish wrench. Hopefully you can see that it says, you can see the 14 right there. See if that's where I'm looking. Sorry, there's the 14 on the open end side right there. So I'm going to put this 14mm wrench here, and I got to think about clockwise is tightening, counterclockwise is loosening. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to pull this like this in the counterclockwise direction to loosen it, and I just did loosen it. If it was too tight, I could take another wrench and I could put that wrench on here. This is called double wrenching, and it gives me twice the leverage to be able to open that up. I didn't need that in this case. I will hang the 14mm wrench right up there on the tool panel, and I'm going to go ahead and again I'm going to raise this even a little higher, so hopefully the oil doesn't come out and splash onto my computer. That would be a bad day, as you can imagine. So I'm taking the drain plug out, and I'm going to hopefully not drop it into the pan if I can be careful, and there it goes. And you see the oil coming out. It looks like just a black stream. And while that's draining in there, what I'm going to show you in just a moment is the condition of the little drain plug gasket. So here's the drain plug down here in my hand. The threads look like they're in good condition. Here's a little gasket and has a rubber insert, and it's a little hard to tell on the camera, but it is broken, and I'm going to go ahead and replace that. You can see it like that, and I keep those here in stock. So I'll get one of those, and we will let this finish draining into the drainer, which takes just a couple of minutes. In the meantime, we'll pause and get right back. So at this point, you can still see the oil just draining out here just a little bit. To get to the filter on this one, I'm going to take this little battery operated impact driver with a 3/8 hex or square drive on there and a 10mm 3/8 drive deep socket, and get these last two bolts off here, and that takes it off really quickly, and hopefully, oh, I got one more in the center here, and down comes this plate. On this car, it's a little hard to get to the oil filter without removing this plate, and that's really true of all of our Toyota Tacomas and Tundras and Sequoias, etc. So, all right, so I'm looking up here, and the filter is up here, and hopefully you can see it. This is it right, trying to reach it with my hand. This is it right here, this sort of black shiny thing. The lighting's not so good, so I'm going to pause the video and get a little light up there. Okay, now when I get a little bit of light up in there, you can see the filter. It's that black can right there, and we're going to go ahead and turn that guy counterclockwise by hand in order to pull him out. So I just took the oil filter out, and there's oil dripping down right here. You probably can't see it too well on the video, but here is the old oil filter right here as I put this guy down. And what I want you to see on here is that there's a black rubber seal here, and I can probably pull it up. I just pulled it up. Sometimes these will stick to the engine block, and so you want to make sure to go ahead and, when you take the filter off, you're going to make sure that this seal came off with the filter, and we're going to turn this upside down and just leave it in the drainer to go ahead and drain out. So I'll just drop it in there, and it'll sit in there and drain. And while that's going on, we're going to take a rag, and we're going to go up inside here, and we're going to wipe off the surface where the filter is. So I'm going to kind of show that to you. Hopefully I can get up in there to where you can see it, and I think you can. Yep, there it is. So there's there's the little spot there where you can see the threaded circular nub and where that oil filter screws on. And so we're going to go up there with a rag, and we're going to go ahead and wipe that off and make sure that it's nice and clean so that when the new one goes on, it doesn't leak at all. So you can actually see, once I get the flashlight up there, you can see pretty clear where that filter goes and that it's pretty clean. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over here and grab the new filter. There's the new filter there, and I've got you can see on the side it says 1348. So there's that part number that we looked up on Napa ProLink. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get some oil, get a quart of oil, and I'm going to go ahead and put some of the oil, and it's 5W30, which we mentioned on the Mitchell ProDemand. And I'm going to put some oil. I'm going to pour it right here, just a little bit, and I'll set this guy down, hopefully without spilling it. There. Nope, there. And I'm going to take my finger, and I'm just going to wipe the oil on the seal. That'll keep that seal from tearing as it goes on. When I put this up inside there, you got to be kind of careful, because as I go up, I don't want to bump the side of the engine, get a bunch of grease on there, thread it onto the side of the block, and then it starts leaking. So we'll do that right now. We'll get that guy up there. So I've got that filter on up there, and most filters tell you to tighten it 3/4 of a turn past when that gasket contacts the surface of the block. I didn't show you the tools that I used to remove this, but here they are. This is an oil filter socket, and the old oil filter has little flats on it here, and so it'll sit in there and lock. And then I had a little 3/8 drive extension with a 3/8 ratchet, put it in the off position so I could turn it counterclockwise and get it off. So that's what I did to get it out. I put it up in there, I tightened it, and myself or Mrs. Tway, when you do an oil change, got to make sure that that filter is tight. I'm wiping off the excess oil right here because I want to make sure that it doesn't leak, and I think that I did something wrong when I'm going through after I'm all done. And I'm going to go ahead and put the drain plug in now, and here's the drain plug with the new gasket right there, you can see. And I'm going to turn the camera over here, and hopefully you can see where I'm going to thread it in. I think you can, yeah. And so when I come over here, I'm going to go ahead up to the spot where the oil's leaking, and I'm just going to go ahead and wipe the surface off, and you'll be able to see it better right here. And so it'll keep draining for a long time. So as long as the surface is clean from any grease or dirt, it's okay if oil's coming out. I'll just go ahead and thread this guy right up in there. And then I'll grab my 14mm wrench over here on the tool panel and grab that guy there and come on back over here. And I'm going to go ahead and get my wrench up there, and I'm going to go clockwise to tighten it. And so we say we snug and tug the plug. So I'm going to move the drainer out of the way, put it down, and get it out of the way for a second. There we go. And I'm going to snug this up like that, and I gave it a snug, and then I'm going to get it and I'm going to give it a tug, and I'll just double check. I'll give it another tug. Okay, it's good. I tend to over tighten, and I know that. A little bit over tighten is just my habit. It's really important that we tighten it properly so that the engine oil doesn't leak out of the engine, because if you run an engine with no oil, within 35 or 45 seconds, you're going to destroy the engine. Okay? So next thing we're going to do is we're going to drop the car down, and we're going to go ahead and fill it with oil. One thing I'm going to do before I do that is reattach this plate up here with the bolts. I'll pause and we'll come back to that in just a second. Okay, so next we're going to bring the rack down. We're going to yell, "Rack coming down!" And we're going to go ahead and drop this car down by releasing the safety lever and hitting the hydraulics, and down it comes. And once we get it down, I'll show you the process of filling it up with oil. We're almost there. Just a few more steps to do before we're done, and then we'll be good to go. So I dropped this thing down on the ground. I'm going to leave it up just a little bit because it'll probably be a little easier to see on the video. And I'm going to go ahead and put those, I think we read, didn't we say